No, it is zero. It is almost lowest than last 1 decade. When you ask for, okay, tax interest should be reduced and reduced, is the leadership talking in terms of some reality or not? Why are you asking for interest rate when you can't take the money? I know a banker who is telling me every day, mere se paisa lena, nobody is coming to take money from me. When the bank's NPS going up, 7 lakh crore rupees has gone up. It has gone up because of failure of leadership, either political leadership or the corporate leadership. You are trying to reduce subsidy from here. For example, other thing I will give you. How come Indian corporate sector getting the best tax benefit from 94 onward till 2017, 17 and 6, 21 years, you have not been paying any capital, long-term capital gains tax for the last 25 years. This is the biggest benefit one could have given to you to increase your equity, you increase your productivity. What happened? India is perhaps the only country in which capital gains tax is not there. There are one small or two countries there. But our leadership has not been able to take advantage of that. Even now, we are not able to withdraw the taxes because they think the market has to spend, and stock market has to spend. It is a weak thing there. You have been given subsidies. You have been given incentives because when corporate people get some benefit, it is known as incentive. When poor get some benefit, it is known as subsidy. Rich people need incentives. Poor people need subsidies. It should be the other way around, that poor people should be given incentive to be more productive, and what is not happening. Even after 70 years, you have more unemployment in this country than it was in 1952. Why? Infrastructure is the worst. We have the beautiful houses. I have visited, I am writing a book, hopefully I will be able to finish it. 30 towns I have chosen, 30 districts of India, where I visited first time as a journalist. 1980 I started journalism, 78 I started it, but 80 I started traveling. I visited every district of the country. I know what is happening because most of you may not be able to visit unless you are going to the market, unless there were agencies and whatnot, insulin liver and everything. I am going back to the same districts now, one by one. And looking at what was at that time, I got the pictures of 30-year-old and now pictures I have got it. Each one of those cities is filthier than earlier. Each one of the city is worse in terms of crime and law and order situation. Each one of the city is much more crowded. Earlier, I could walk into district magistrate's house without being stopped by anybody. Now I cannot go to district magistrate or SSP's house unless I am stopped by 6 people at the gate. There are more air conditioning in his house, more people working in his house. I cannot go to the chief minister's office. Earlier, you used to walk into chief minister's office without being stopped. Now you have to stop 1 mile away, go and search frisk everywhere else. How these cities have become filthy? You're talking about infrastructure. Automobile industry is a classic example of Indian policy failure, leadership failure I'm talking about. You have a house. You in slum areas, I went to Gorakhpur recently because chief minister has been elected there. I went to the same place earlier. Slum as colony has come up. Everybody in that colony owns a car. Most of the people have not gone to the school. Where do they park the car? Outside on the main road, and main road is totally cluttered. You can't walk in the evening when the cars are parked there. You thought about the cars being sold everywhere. Car industry is the only thing which is flourishing in this country. And there's a major source of traffic jam all over the country. Wherever you go, there are more cars in some places than the families even. I'm very happy everybody has a car. But where is the parking space? You're talking about clean environment. These cars are producing much more pollution. So you're talking about creating what? As he talked about health, it has to be healthy growth, it has to be wealthy growth. What is happening now, wealthy growth is happening in certain areas, but there's no healthy growth at all. Health of economy is the victim of a wealth model, money-driven growth here. Health in terms of character, health in terms of environment, health in terms of relationship. You know what is happening? Political leaders don't talk to each other. I try to create one, as an editor of India Today, I tried to create something. I spoke to Amma, poor thing is dead now. I said, why didn't you talk to Karnanidhi? I'm the only editor who got an interview from her in Hindi. I spoke to her 5 times in interviews I've done it. He said, why should I talk to him? She was a great leader. She was suppressed. She was victim of all sorts of things were happening. She created a party. She won the elections. But she was not willing to compromise. Okay, political party is also something to build by consensus that you run the administration. She said, no. I went to Andhra Pradesh. I said, Chandrababu Naidu, why don't you talk to Chandrasekhar Reddy? They were not talking to each other. I made a point that I brought them onto one stage. Once. After that, they never met. He died, poor fellow. I've been trying for the last 7 years to make Mayawati and Akhilesh together to talk together. They are great leaders on their own. They have created something. They don't talk. Leadership has to be tolerant. Leadership has to be a listener. But no. So these are the values which are disappearing in the country. Growth can happen only if you keep your windows of the house open. A house without a window is a gas chamber. Leadership without an open ear is a dead leadership. So unless you start hearing, because everybody is arrogant these days. I have been growing, I have seen the people grow with me. I know how they handle now relationships. Some of them used to come to my office and wait outside my reception. Now I call them 10 times, they don't return me calling once. Because I'm not that useful now. But this is the leadership. The point I'm trying to make, leadership of growth will be successful only if you are large-hearted, if people say leaders should lead from the front. I'm going to make a disruptionist statement here now. Leaders should never lead from the front. Wars are won not by a general who is in the front. He's always in the back. He leads the forces from the back and they won it. Our leadership is now becoming more and more visible. I would say leadership always lead from the back. He should be invisible, forces should be visible. The people who are leading the organization, they should be given encouragement. They should become part of the stakeholder. Only then leadership can go. Otherwise, I don't see. The money should not be the growth model. Valuation should not be the growth model. Acceptability should be the growth model only. Dr. Reddy is here. So he's a symbol of, you can say, simplicity and whatnot. So those who chase money, those leaders cannot sustain a model. They are the end of themselves. I think you should create value and not valuation. That should be the responsibility of leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chawla, for that very enlightening and inspiring speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we have joined with us by Dr. Pratap C. Reddy. Can we give a big round of applause, please? Welcome, Dr. Pratap C. Reddy. It is my privilege to introduce the convention chairperson. Dr. Preetha Reddy is the executive vice chairperson of Apollo Hospitals Group, Asia's foremost integrated healthcare provider. Dr. Preetha Reddy is widely recognized for her contributions in making high-quality healthcare accessible to millions across the country, and also for her support to various entities and industry bodies working for the betterment of India. Dr. Preetha Reddy has been the recipient of Lifetime Achievement Award for Distinguished Service in the field of social science from the Loyola Forum for Historical Research, and she's also been awarded the NHRDN People CEO Awards Women Leadership by the National HRD Network. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Dr. Preetha Reddy to deliver the conclave chairperson address.
Namaste to all the dignitaries on the dais, my friends in the gathering, members of IMA and Flo, thank you all for being here today. It's nice to be called conference chair, but I have a confession. I was just telling our good friend, Mr. Prabhu Chawla, that frankly, right now, I feel a bit like a chutney in a sandwich, because I have to speak after Mr. Chawla, which is absolutely impossible because he's touched on every aspect of leadership. And then I have to go before my dad, who is my leader. I have to say that on this dais today, and say the kind of things which we learned from a leadership point of view. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make this like really short. Forgive me for that, but it is a great lesson in leadership to keep your ears open and learn from a lot of people. IMA, I think, has to be acknowledged today, and I'm going to take that role. When I was asked to become president for 1 year at IMA, I said, oh my gosh, why are you all asking me? And then they said, oh, you're going to be the first lady president of IMA. So I was a bit silent at that point, and I said, is it because I'm a lady I'm being asked, or is it because you think I'm capable? So the people who asked me, to take on this went a bit further, one step further, and they said, no, there were great lessons because Dr. Reddy invested in 4 women for leadership, and, he kind of let you all lead, whether it was from the back behind him or take decisions or do it from the front. He let you all lead. So we want to learn those lessons. And so I turned around and I said, I keep wondering, and I do this at many of the speeches, that if my dad, Dr. Reddy, had actually had a son, I don't even know if I'm going to be here in front of all of you speaking today. So you could probably save that question for him and ask him if we, actually came down on any of his expectations. So that was just a little bit of the personal piece. But IMA in its 60th year has been doing a phenomenal job, and all the leadership has been commanded literally to see whatever they can do, from reaching out to all the leadership in the country and try and exchange ideas. So keep our ears open, like Prabhu said, because there is a young India. There's a responsibility towards young India to make it a better place to live in. And we're constantly worrying about, all the things which have gone wrong. And I'm personally concerned working with initiatives to even look after the rivers in India. So I think young leadership has to be exposed to the wisdom of people who have learned. And I have also seen that people who have been leaders for a long time, leading companies, have become so unselfish about their personal needs that it doesn't matter to them, but the company and the growth and the value system of a company really matters. And if you go back and if you look at a lot of companies who are literally future ready, you will see that the leaders leading these companies do not really have a personal agenda with the company at all. And a lot of it has come from what we've learned within our company. And if a leader of a great company is asked, is there a dilemma between ownership and growth of the company? Do you want to hold on to ownership, or do you want to look at the growth of the company? It's always the growth of the company. Do you want to build, assets for the company, or do you want to create value which will really outlive the legacy of, what you have within the company? It's always creating a legacy for the future. I think those are the lessons in leadership which, all of us as the sandwich generation have learned from our leaders, that you really have to build a company which will last for centuries afterwards. Will it last the next 100 days? 100 years. I think that's really what leadership is about. Do we really look at a market cap, a valuation game? While, the front line of the papers, sometimes we have to blame media. I hope there's not too much media here. But, media kind of pushes companies into looking at market cap, into looking at valuations. They don't really look at a company, will they take a risk and really see that the bottom line may not exist for the next 5 years because they're building a legacy which will really outlive the promoters of the company. How many of the analysts, how many of the private equity firms who actually have tons of cash will really back a promoter who says, for the next 5 years, I'm not going to declare dividends or profits, but I'm going to grow the company in such a way that it really takes care of the social needs of a country, the healthcare needs of a country as far as we are concerned, the food needs of the country, the protection, the security of a country, but I will not give you a bottom line for the next 5 years. I think if a leader had a courage, if a company leader had the courage to do something like that, that is leadership for growth. Because, you have to look beyond your report, beyond your annual report for 12 months, for 5 years, and give back something which, will really take care of of the environment of the country for the next, few generations to come. To me, I think that's great leadership. It has to be organization versus the star. You will have a rock star leader for some time. But God forbid, for many reasons, what if he's not there for the next, next quarter? What happens to the company? So it has to be the organization's goals before the leadership who is there. Young versus old. The youngsters, whether it's the family or in the company, please judge a company by how many people they have who are below 35 years of age. They may be brash, they may be impulsive, but they have the courage to speak. And when Prabhu said that, leadership has to have the ears to the ground, it's so important in a growth-oriented company. Listen to the youngsters because they're so much more savvy than, with what is going on in the rest of the world than any of us can even claim to be. So I think youth is so important for leadership to acknowledge. We were a company who really worked behind a desk for people who were the non-doctors because the medical staff were always on the ground. And then we learned that sickness has no holiday. That is my father's leadership mantra. So on Sunday morning, if any of us were really not at work, there was just one line from leadership and the chairman, and he says, "Do you think people don't get sick on a Sunday?" This is a lesson for, I think, any leadership in a company. You cannot really switch off from your company over a weekend or over a long weekend. Family time or company time has to be synergistic with each other. It can be seamless and you can actually brilliantly manage both. If you don't make the divide between, what you owe to your company or to your office versus what you owe to your family. And it has to be synergetic. It has to just work hand in hand. And there are ways to do it. And, I've seen that happen in our company where we very happily as children went to lend a hand because we felt that, our, dad needed help. And we couldn't really afford reams and reams of staff. Not too many O's in our company, Prabhu, by the way. But having said that, I think, everybody has to lend a hand to do whatever they have to do, whenever they need to do. And so I think if we work, remove these boundaries, and if a leader helps you remove those boundaries, I think it's a great leadership. And the desktop, moved to a laptop, and we thought, oh, wow, computers can do so much. And if I'm hooked onto my laptop, I can run my company. And then my niece came up and said, what are you talking about? The laptop generation is over. Everything is in your palm, it's your phone, it's your mobile phone. And I don't know where that's going to change. I think the little Fitbit which we wear on our wrist, there may be a day where that's going to control the company. So times are changing. And unless we acknowledge that, leadership may not be ready for growth. Market cap and valuation is completely out, and it has to be value creation more than anything else. And how ready is a leader to question challenge? You will be challenged every day, because the environment will change. Environment will change in such a way that, we cannot afford to be caught napping. And leadership needs to spend at least half a day in the week saying, what will the scenario be within the country, within our environment, within our landscape, 5 years down the road. And unless you don't see a leader looking at the future, that disruption will just happen, and we probably won't realize it. It's happening in every sphere of everyone's activity, and I think we need to be able to predict that. There are many kinds of leaders. There are political leaders, there are social leaders, there are business leaders, there are religious leaders. But if you just see what is the underlying trend, what is the thread which really makes a leader, the one quality which I see in a leader is the fact that, they're completely unselfish. Any good leader, if you go back and look in history and you look at Nelson Mandela, or you look at Mahatma Gandhi, or if you, look at our Prime Minister today, they don't do it for themselves. They don't do it for their family. They don't do it because they want, a very comfortable home to go back to, or an aircraft or a car. They do it because there's a conviction. They do it because I remember speaking to Mr. Modi when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat, and he was a bit reminiscent, I think. He said, I don't have any family. So I said, yes, sir, you don't have any family. But there are the 6 lakh Gujaratis who are my family, because he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat now, at that time. So I think if we speak to him now, he will say it's 1.3 Indians who are my family. And that is probably a great leader. But what he's doing is that he's trying to change the world. So he might probably say that, now the whole world is my family and I have to make a change. And he did it with yoga. The whole world is adopting Yoga Day just because the Prime Minister decided that he's going to change the world. So I think leadership today wants to change the world. In our organization, our leadership says, heal the world. In another organization, leadership might say, just do something for the rest of the world to come back and look at us. So we're playing in a global environment. We're not playing in a country just in India. We need to make a difference for the rest of the world. And to me, ladies and gentlemen, that's what leadership is about. That can you go out there and make a difference in your own sphere of activity, in the organization you work for, and can you make a difference in the rest of the world? That is leadership for growth. Thank you all for the invitation today, and I hope you have a wonderful session. I know the team has put together, done a lot of work and put together some really interesting talks, so please stay and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. I now invite Ms. Kavita Chitturi, President, Madras Management Association, to address the gathering.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to present to you a very special person, Dr. P.C. Reddy, founder and chairman of Apollo Hospitals Group. Dr. Reddy has kindly agreed to address us today. Dr. Reddy, it is an honor to share the dais with you. A pioneer of corporate hospitals in India, you have made India a hub for global healthcare sector. Your extraordinary vision for the nation and your remarkable entrepreneurship is an inspiration to everyone. Many thanks for joining us at the conclave in spite of your busy commitment. The pioneer of corporate hospitals in India, he started an industry that has grown from a single hospital in 1983 to more than 70 hospitals now operates in India and overseas. A philanthropist, he has led the setting up of many healthcare programs for children and the poor. These include Save a Child's Heart Foundation, Cure Foundation for Cancer Care, Indian Head Surgery Foundation, Injury Foundation, and Distance Healthcare Advancement. He has been conferred the Padma Vibhushan for his outstanding services to the healthcare sector in the country. ladies and gentlemen.